I think it would just be easier to just be full black or be full white. Because genuinely, as I just mentioned, like, it is hard being biracial.
This is just a snippet of some of the things that biracial, half black and white people have to go through.
Growing up biracial, it's a tough place, bro. But I never really talk about that because I'm not crying for help.
Here is a list of racist comments and microaggressions I heard growing up as a biracial black girl that permanently altered my brain chemistry.
People love saying that being mixed is like having the best of both worlds, but I beg to differ. That was not my experience. And
I don't think I've ever heard it being talked about, but let's talk about it. I don't think I've heard anyone talk about how hard it is being the only biracial person in your family.
Being a biracial person who is white presenting is a really interesting experience because I always get the same question: how black are you?
So I've been seeing a lot of white mothers make videos about their biracial children and kind of wondering what it's going to be like for them growing up. And me being biracial, I can kind of give you a little bit of insight to that. My mother's white and my dad's black, and I grew up in a single parent household. So when I was younger, a lot of people used to be like, oh, you're mixed, you get the best of both worlds, but that's not always the case. Sometimes you get the worst of both worlds too.
Dear black people,
Here we go.
I would like to personally apologize to you guys. For years, I used to judge your guys' hair.
The hardest part about being mixed that people don't realize is how much it messes with your identity. Because with both sides of my family, I always feel welcome, but I don't feel like I belong. And my family is so kind and inclusive, but it kind of feels like you're in the group chat, but you don't know the inside jokes, or that you speak the language, but you don't understand the slang. And so it's just this constant feeling of knowing that you're invited, but just not feeling rooted in either culture. And I think that being mixed is a beautiful best of both worlds situation, but it's also just this constant feeling of like you're a guest in your own identity.
Some people are coming out to share their experiences, their thoughts, and this is about biracial people or biracial children sharing the hardest part or the challenges that they go through. What's up, guys? I guess we have ever noticed how mixed or biracial people are constantly asked questions like, what are you? Which side do you identify with more? How black are you? Are you black? Are you white? Are you Asian? Are you Latino? What exactly are you? So for a lot of biracial people, those questions may sound harmless at first, but over time they can create real identity struggles. And even some parents also struggling to raise their biracial or mixed children. So this is a serious issue, and we are going to watch a few clips and then we can share our thoughts in the comments. Hit that like button, subscribe, and I'll catch up with you.
I think it would just be easier to just be full black or be full white. Because genuinely, as I just mentioned, like, it is hard being biracial because I just don't feel like I fit in with one or the other group. And it sucks because I've brought up how specifically in the black community, this is not the first video I've been on where I've talked about this. It's always the black community that is more judgmental towards me. And so that's why it's just like, if I could just be one or the other, I wouldn't have to keep having a weird mixed experience where one group doesn't accept me and the other one doesn't either. So, like, honestly, I love who I am, but I hate how I'm treated by others because of my race, like, truly. Like, and I hate, like, the snide comments based on, like, oh, your mom's white, can tell. Like, it just really, it sucks, because I am who I am. I'm a mix of both. I'm not just one or the other. But that makes it hard, because I think in this day and age, people want you, it's black or white. Like, people want you to just be in one box.
This is just a snippet of some of the things that biracial, half black and white people have to go through. When we claim that we're black, we have many black people saying, you're not black, you don't have two black parents, you can't never be black. When you get the ones that say, I'm white, wow, you really hate us. You just, wow. And then when you say, I'm half black and white, if you're black, you're black. There's no mix. You can't be mixed. Then you have the other people saying, biracial isn't even part of the black community. You're your own kind. You're a mulatto. And then when you express all of that, here come the people. This is is why I don't support interracial dating, because when you have kids, they grow up having identity crisis. Well, I'm fucking sorry I'm here. Goddamn.
Here is a list of racist comments and microaggressions I heard growing up as a biracial black girl that permanently altered my brain chemistry. The first time I was ever called the N-word with the hard R was in 7th grade by a kid named Jorge, and he was Mexican and the same shade as me. Also, in 7th grade, a boy asked the white boy sitting next to me if my hair was real because he refused to believe me if it came out of my mouth. And people to this day still think that my hair is fake. When I was in 5th grade, my gym teacher told us on the first day of school as an icebreaker to stand in the circle if you speak another language at home. So I do, as a biracial black girl, and so does another black kid. And what my gym teacher does is he questions the only 2 black kids in the circle, and he tells us to prove it. Mind you, the Asian kids that were standing in the circle didn't even speak their language fluently, and I spoke the same language as them because I'm half Asian. Growing up, all the Asian adults in my life always asked me who my parents were because they couldn't believe that my mom was Asian. Starting at the age of 4 or 5, I was called Blackie by all of the Asian people in my family because I was the darkest one. In 9th grade, my white friend said I smelled like a rice, even though most people said I actually didn't smell like anything. That same friend would also mimic my mom and grandma's accents. East Asians always side-eye me when I tell them I'm half Asian. There are still people who refuse to believe that my brothers are related to me because my brothers are full Asian and I'm only half Asian, so they think I'm lying or something. I don't know. Since I was always bullied for my skin tone, I always made my video game characters white or light-skinned, and I didn't know I did that until one of my friends pointed out that my movie Star Planet character was white. Even now, as a almost 21-year-old, I still don't know my skin tone, and I always need someone to help me shade match when I'm buying concealer or foundation, because I'm genuinely blind.
Growing up biracial, it's a tough place, bro. But I never really talk about that because I'm not crying for help. You know what I'm saying? And one thing I've learned from the people close to me is focus on the positivity and not the negativity, and that's one thing I'm learning to do. But like even as a kid, like, you know, from Mexicans, they were very racist towards me and my brother. And kudos to my brother, man. He's my hero. You know, I was too young to really understand, and he always stood up for us. And now my brother has this label as the problem child. But as I'm older, I just understand that my brother was just like, he was keen to the bullshit that, you know, we was getting mistreated. You know, the other Mexican kids was getting away with shit. We was the last ones that, you know, be fed and shit that I didn't understand, you know, being 3 years younger than my older brother. And also, you know, from black people, I do experience some colorism, you know, and so like leading into when I did the protest, you know, people were saying I wasn't black enough to lead a protest, you know, but when I step out into corporate America, I'm a nigga, bro. I got waves, I'm black, the way I talk, the way I walk, I'm a nigga. Absolutely. And, you know, Mexicans treat me that way. And so I really experienced that, you know, as of recently, you know, after being the first, you know, to win a championship, you know, coming out with the Mexican flag at, you know, at the finals after we won, like that's the biggest platform in sports, more or less, you know? Yeah. And people still saying that I ain't doing enough for for Mexicans, I'm not Mexican enough, and it's just like, what fucking more you want me to do? I just won a championship. I'm the first to do that. And so I'm just learning, bro, like just to be me and just be me unapologetically, you know.
People love saying that being mixed is like having the best of both worlds, but I beg to differ. That was not my experience, and this is not a video to be like, boo-hoo, I feel so sorry for you, oh my god, being mixed must be so hard. No, there are things that are great, I guess, on a superficial level, I guess, but there's a lot of hardships that come out of that experience. There's a lot of trauma, there's a lot of confusion, and I want to talk about some of those things. Namely, I have a white mom. I feel like something happens when you become a young woman, a young black woman, a young colored woman, 15, 16, that happens with a white parent sometimes, at least from mother to daughter, where I didn't feel like my mom's child. And I didn't feel like my mom recognized me as her child. I feel like there's a huge disconnect that started to happen as I started to grow into myself. My experiences she could not relate to, she could not understand, even if she tried, if she did try, she couldn't get it. She didn't get it. Especially, I remember when I moved to the US and the whole question of race started to come up in a totally different way that I had experienced in France. My mom didn't get it. Like, my mom did not get what the fuck I was talking about or what I was going through. And everything was just like, it's all in your head, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no. No, I'm really experiencing racism, and I'm really going through all these things.
I don't think I've ever heard it being talked about, but let's talk about it. I don't think I've heard anyone talk about how hard it is being the only biracial person in your family. So on my mama's side, I'm the only biracial person. I'm the only half black, part black, corner black person there is. So if you know, then you know, and if you don't, then we can talk about it. Anyways, so here recently it's been brought to my attention that one of my family members feels the need that, or feels like they can use the N-word with the hard ER. Mind you, this person is completely 100% Caucasian, white, whatever you want to call it. And it just totally grosses me out. It disgusts me that they feel like they have the ability to reference a black person utilizing the N-word regardless of the situation. I feel like if you're gonna call somebody the N-word, you wanted to call them that. You want to refer to all of us like that, and that just disgusts me. It makes me feel so disgusted to be associated with anybody that feels like they can talk like that. And that is why I've chosen not to associate myself with this person. Do I owe them an explanation? No, because you knew better. You're grown. You knew better. That is so mind-blowing that anyone would feel like they have the ability to utilize this word regardless of the situation. Like, I feel like if you use that word, that's what you wanted to say. That's what you want to reference us as. And that's just gross. And a lot of people will be like, oh, you're half white. I'm black. My birth certificate say I am black. I am proud to be black. I have children who have even more African American in them. That is so gross. Like, that boils my blood that they feel that they can talk like that. I don't know. Is it just my, like, we're from a small town, so like, is it just my family, or like, do anybody else feel like this? Does it get to other people like this, or is it just me?
So I've been seeing a lot of white mothers make videos about their biracial children and kind of wondering what it's going to be like for them growing up. And me being biracial, I can kind of give you a little bit of insight to that. My mother's white and my dad's black, and I grew up in a single parent household. So when I was younger, a lot of people used to be like, oh, you're mixed, you get the best of both worlds, but that's not always the case. Sometimes you get the worst of both worlds too. So for like my whole childhood, I grew up in a predominantly black neighborhood, and I had to fight and I got bullied a lot for being biracial. But it wasn't until I moved across the bridge to a predominantly white neighborhood that I encountered real racism. And all throughout middle school and throughout high school, I started getting in trouble because I started fighting, because I was getting called racial names and getting bullied for being mixed. And there'd be times I'd walk down the street even, and people would throw things at me and call me niggers out the window. And I remember I really started encountering racial resistance when I started running the police. And I remember one time the police stopped me and one of my white friends, and he told me that I didn't belong on this side of the bridge and that I belonged on the other side of the bridge. And I also remember one time where me and one of my white friends snuck into a movie because we didn't have any money, and management caught us and called the police, and they let my white friend go, but I had to go to juvie. Those are just small, minor PG examples. So let me tell you, white people see biracial people as black, and black see biracial people as white. That's the reality of it. They can't really comprehend that there's a line down the middle, and we don't fit into either one of their worlds. So if you're a white mom and you have a mixed son, he's probably gonna grow up dating white women. And if you're a white mom and you have a mixed daughter, she's probably gonna grow up dating whatever race she sees you date. When I was younger and I started dating white girls, and I'd get a lot of racial backlash from their families. My girlfriends and I used to get harassed a lot by their families because they were dating me. And even my fiance even just recently got disowned by her family because they told her that when she was younger to never bring home a black guy. And yet we're engaged. I remember one day I went to go help my grandmother, my white grandmother, and she asked me, she's like, why don't you date your own race? And even my grandfather, he told me that once they found out that my mother was pregnant by a black guy, they were no longer going to allow her in the house, or they wouldn't allow him in the house. He even told me that they weren't going to allow me in the house because I was of mixed race. But that all changed once I was actually born. And even by my extended white family, I've got called a lot of racial slurs, got excluded from a lot of family events. But the good thing about growing up biracial is you'll be able to culture shift a lot more easily. And you'll develop better cross-culture communication skills. And the world's changing, and it allows us to be more in tune with reality.
Being a biracial person who is white presenting is a really interesting experience because I always get the same question, how black are you? And when I get that question, I never really know how to answer it because I know that somebody is looking for a definite percentage or number. And obviously, looking at me, I look like a white guy. And if you're asking about my DNA percentage, of course it's low. Look at me. I phenotypically look like a white person. But answering in that way completely negates my history, my family's history. So a little bit of background about my personal family history. I am a descendant of one of the first registered interracial marriages in America. I'm still learning about this, but it was a marriage between a freed slave named Gould and a slave owner's daughter. I believe her name was Elizabeth. And that happened in the 1600s. They started a family, and that family has been light-skinned for a very long time because of the interracialness. But this brings up a really interesting point, which is my dad, who is the son of two very prominent Black history figures. My grandfather, my dad's dad, was a mechanic in the Tuskegee Airmen. My grandmother, my dad's mom, was one of the first African-American female police officers in the United States. The US government didn't care about their light-skinned skin tone. They were black. Now, I didn't grow up with my grandparents. They died before I was born. But my dad raised me to be very proud of my family lineage and to be a very proud interracial, biracial person. He taught me about how to handle myself if somebody were to call me the N-word. He taught me about how to handle myself around police officers at an extremely young age. But growing up, I would always get the same question, which is, how black are you? Going back to that point that somebody wants a percentage. Are you half? Are you a quarter? Are you whatever? And I'm not unique in this fact. My dad, who grew up at the tail end of segregation, also went through the similar type of thing. Even though by the US government he had two black parents, he was still assumed to be a white person occasionally. He told me about times he was walking to elementary school and he was beat up by the white kids on the way there and beat up by the black kids on the way home. And finally, one of his cousins protected him and say, "Y'all, why are you beating up Butch? He's black." And they were like, "Oh, interesting. We didn't know." And then he told me about a situation that happened in college where a race war broke out during lunch and his fraternity brothers, who were predominantly Jewish, protected him because people didn't know how he identified because he was a lighter skinned black person. And then fast forward to me. An acquaintance of mine asked me, "Where is my hair from?" And I told him that it's black. And he said, "No, not the color of your hair. Like, what ethnicity are you? Is it?" I told him that I'm biracial and he was like, "What are you talking about?" Another situation happened to me where somebody found out that I was biracial and I'm at the gym and they are a white guy and they said, "Oh, no wonder you're so strong." But the reason I bring this up is because it is an interesting thing to begin to talk about. I am navigating this. I've always navigated it. I am trying to bring up this conversation within myself and do it in a public setting. And it's scary and it's hard because people have opinions about it. The last time I talked about this publicly, I got a note from a person that was extremely long that was berating me and telling me that I will never be black. And as much as that hurt me, I understand what that person was talking about. But I'm not trying to be black. I'm trying to lean into my heritage. I'm trying to love and accept this part of me. And I really deeply am. Another criticism I've gotten recently is that I have a white girlfriend. People have told me that my black side, my blackness is dying. And to that, my response is, it only goes away if I stop accepting. And I don't want to stop accepting. When I have children, if I am to have children, I am going to tell them and teach them about our family history. I know that their skin color will be light. But does that take away their family heritage? Does that take away their bits of blackness? I invite you to have some discourse with me because I know that this is hard, but I'm willing and wanting to talk to you about it. Anyways, I'll talk to you later.
Dear black people,
Here we go.
I would like to personally apologize to you guys for For years, I used to judge your guys' hair. Like, I see like little tiny little balls of white stuff just floating throughout your hair. And I would say, don't they ever comb it and wash it? And I used to make fun of you guys because you would never like get your hair wet. And I used to scoff at you guys because your hair would be like so oily looking. And I want to apologize for that. Because now I understand what you all go through. Now my son, he's not 100% black. He is mixed. And I brushed his hair, I washed his hair, and I combed it out, and I'm still getting out tangles, I'm still getting out little hairballs, I'm still getting out little fuzz balls, I'm still getting out pine needles because he decided to put pine needles in his hair. And when I have it combed out and it gets wet, it shrinks to his head. And it is a nightmare to comb through.
And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the birth of another tragic biracial. Tisk, tisk, tisk. You starting off a video talking about dear black people. Like, when y'all do that, I just be like, oh boy, what are you going to ask us for? What are you going to ask us for? What are you going to ask us for? These clear women love to have biracial children. They love to take the BBC, and then they don't know how to manage the hair. They complain about it. And I personally feel like if you're not in any type of community with other black women, like that's your friends, like where's your baby daddy or your husband or your fiance? Where's his sisters, his aunts, his cousins? Like, how is it that you have no proximity to an actual black woman that you know in your life that would want to help you because you all are in some type of relation with each other? I never understood that. And then she says it's a nightmare. You're saying that in front of this baby. And you're saying it now. Some people probably would be like, oh, he doesn't understand what's going on. Like, kids, like, these are their formative years. Is from like 0 to 5 is when like their self-esteem, their personality, how they see the world, how they view themselves, like that is what's forming. And your mom is the first like God-like deity that you know. So her opinions heavily influence how you look at yourself and how you navigate through the world. And this is why we say, like, a lot of biracials that's raised with the clear moms, you know, they have the most identity issues. It's because they grow up with mothers that did not do the homework, don't really care to learn, criticize them a lot, and treat them like accessories. It's just, the list goes on and on. Let alone a lot of these women be racist. Just because you taking some black does not mean that you like black people. We got to just start there, because these people. Then at the end she's like, oh, it's just the shrinkage, I can't deal with the shrinkage. Ma'am, that's what black hair does. You have to let his hair do what it does. Like, what are you gonna do, give him a perm, try to have it straight and blown out? He doesn't have your hair texture. You decided to get with a man with a kinky hair texture. Like, what are you, I don't know what, like, it's like the delusion for me. And she's like, oh, it just shrinks up. What could I do? What could I use? Like, bitch, don't ask us for help. I'm tired. And there's women in the comments, oh, my son here does it. I keep my hair son cut low. These people don't even give a damn about you. They don't like you like that. Not all, because some of them are cool, but a lot of them, and especially the way she's talking, how I used to talk about you guys because you never like to get your hair wet. Yeah, I'm sure that's not the only thing you were saying about the black people in the black community. Like, she's the type to be like racist and like do the little microaggressions, but then be like, oh, well, I have a black son, so I can say that. Well, I slept with a black man and I let him shoot my club up, so I can say that. That's what it's given. Like, why would you say that your son's hair is a nightmare to deal with? That's horrible to say about a child. Like, children are like sponges. He's going to internalize that. She's saying it now when he's young. She's going to continue to talk like that around him and to him when he gets older. Basically making his hair to be a problem. I mean, he could cut it. And if it was a girl, I would feel even worse for the child. But it's a little boy. So, I don't know. You know, boys don't have as many issues when it comes to like their hair and their hair texture and texturism and featureism as girls do. But what y'all think about this? Spread love is the Brooklyn Way.
So we have listened to those people sharing their experiences, and honestly, sometimes it's a big challenge. It's a big struggle to be caught up in a mix of worlds or in a mix of things that you did not apply to be, whether with their parents, relatives, family members, or just society. Sometimes they are judged for who they are, and yet it's not their fault. But what brings about this? It's because society tends to think in simple boxes. People are often expected to fit neatly into one category. Say, I'm black, I'm white, I'm Asian, I'm Latino. So mixed people challenge that idea completely. And because of that, many of them grow up constantly hearing things like, you don't look fully black, like some of them have shared there. You are too white for us. We have heard those comments. You don't act Asian enough. You are basically white. You are basically black. So imagine hearing such conflicting messages your entire life from both strangers and even people within your own communities. It can create confusion, especially for children and teenagers who are already trying to figure out who they are. Then also sometimes biracial people describe feeling like they are too black for one group, and yet you are also not black enough. So some of these kids get caught up. Or you are too white in one setting while being treated as other somewhere else. Like they've shared there. It's all confusion. So the feeling of never feeling fully belonging anywhere can be emotionally exhausting, because some mixed kids grow up in neighborhoods where they stand out physically. Then others grow up disconnected from one side of their family or culture entirely. For example, a biracial child may not know one parent's language. They may not understand certain traditions, or they may feel embarrassed asking questions about their own background. So over time, that disconnect may turn into identity insecurity. Then also, sometimes biracial children are treated differently depending on their appearance. Say two siblings can literally have the same parents and still be treated completely different by society. One may be perceived as black, another may be perceived as white, and another may look racially ambiguous. So if such kids are judged according to their appearance and yet they are from the same parents, it can change the way they see themselves. And we have heard where some of these people have said sometimes when they are around white people they are seen as black, but when they are around black people suddenly they are seen as not black enough. So it's not easy. Some of these biracial children feel that pressure to identify themselves, while others also get attacked no matter who they claim to be. Whereby, if they embrace one side like more than the other, people accuse them of rejecting the other side. And if they celebrate both sides, people still criticize them, especially on social media. However, some of these experiences are determined by the environment in which these children or these people grow up or live. Some families celebrate both cultures equally and create a strong sense of belonging, but in some other situations, one culture dominates, one parent may become absent, or sometimes racial issues are ignored completely. Like we have heard also those people sharing. So some children grow up hearing negative reactions or comments or stereotypes about one side of themselves within just the homes where they live. So such things can deeply affect the confidence and self-image of that child. However, there are those biracial children who grow up in healthy environments, whose parents have told them about both sides of their background or their cultures. Like they have good relationships with both of their parents, with both of their families, and they have no issue. I think parents should put into consideration how they should bring up their biracial kid so that they are not really affected by the stereotypes and all the negative things about being a child of a mixed race. Some parents also struggle even with bringing up their biracial children. Anyway, what do you think about it? Share your views in the comments. Thank you so much for staying with me. And please, for those who are new here, don't forget to subscribe, Hit that like button if you found this video interesting, and let's meet again in the next one.